Hello and welcome to my short tutorial on how to display random documents from a collection at the push of a button in FlutterFlow. Something that sounds fairly simple, but in actuality isn't or wasn't for me. I had to spend several weeks and half a dozen approaches to get it to work to my satisfaction. And now I'm gonna share with you how I did it. First of all, you need to set up a project in Firebase and connect it to FlutterFlow. I assume you're familiar with that, so I'm not gonna go through all the steps and waste your time. There's nothing here as of yet, as you can see. Starting a new project that I'm calling Random Demo. Paste in the project ID. And yep, let's have the login page called login, and the logged in page we are gonna call create items. That's also a blank page. Let's connect, auto generate the config files. All right, start building. See if everything is set up. Yep, that looks good. All right, so we are gonna need a few more screens. One that we are gonna call Randomizer. This is gonna be the page where at the push of a button you will display documents from the collection randomly. And then one more that we're gonna call processing create. And one that we are gonna call whoops, didn't copy it, okay. Processing delete. I wish I could spell. So all right, so now we've got 5 screens set up. Next step, we move to the users collection that FlutterFlow provides for us, and we need to add 5 fields. The first one being items total, which is gonna be an integer. Items list, which, yes, you guessed it, is gonna be a list, but it's gonna be a list of strings. Then we're gonna have first item created, which is gonna be a boolean, and we're gonna have default item deleted, which is also gonna be a boolean, and last but not least, random item UID, which is gonna be another string. All right, next we create second collection, which we're gonna call items. We're gonna start from scratch. You can basically put everything in here that you want, but the strictly necessary things for our purposes now are name, which is gonna be a string. Then we are going to have UID, which is gonna be another string. We're gonna have a user ref, which is gonna be a document reference to users, so we can filter for only those documents that were created by a specific user. And then we have to have create date, which is gonna be a timestamp. All right, moving back to the screens. First we go to the login screen. Just name it for our own orientation. I already have a template for these things, which I'm gonna drag in here. There's more in here than we actually need, so no first name, no last name. Yeah, who cares? Username, email address, password. What you put in here really isn't important. What's important is the actions that we're gonna connect to this button right here. So as you can see, this button is set up to provide for email and password authentication, and all the input fields are also already set up by me, so do that as well. And then we have to add a few fields at this point. All right, so add field for the display name from a variable, widget state, username input in my case. Gonna add another field. It's gonna be more relevant. So items total, we are gonna set to a specific value, and that value is 0. Bit of a lag today. Next step, first item created, we're gonna set to false, and default item deleted, we're also gonna set to false. That's what we need to do in this field. Then we're gonna open up the action flow editor, and we're gonna add an action, create document, items, and we need to create a default item, because if we don't, everything else will not work. Don't ask me why, but that's what I found out. So gonna add all the fields, name, UID, userRef, and create date, and the name is gonna be placeholder, and the UID is gonna be placeholder as well. The userRef is gonna be the authenticated user, and the create date is gonna be global properties current time. And next step, one last action, gonna be navigate to create items, and let's make it instant. And we're done on the login screen. Now moving on to create items. What do we need here? So we don't need a whole lot in the main column over here. We're gonna put in a text field, and we're gonna put in a button and maybe a second button to log out. So let's give that a bit of padding, this one as well, 25 on top each. And the text field, we're gonna name item input. Always paste or name everything in a way that you can later recognize. Item input, yeah, let's have 25 on each side, and have it say enter item name. And this button we're gonna call create item, and this button we're gonna call log out, because you will want to be able to log out. So let's start from the top. Maybe on the create items screen level, we want to create conditional actions. So let's open the action flow editor, add conditional action, and what we want to do is set up conditions. Single condition if authenticated user first item created equal to specific value true. And on the false path, we want to add terminate, and on either there or there, doesn't really make a difference. We want to add a second conditional, single condition once more, authenticated user, default item deleted equal to false. Again, on the false path, add terminate, and on the true path, we're gonna do another action, and this is gonna be update document. So authenticated user, user reference, add field, items list, remove from set specific value, placeholder, and that's because we don't want the placeholder to be part of our displayed items. And then we need to do default items deleted, specific value true, and that's all we need to do here. So that's an on page load action that will only be triggered if those two conditions are either true and then false. Next step, we select the main column and we want to do a backend query. So add backend query, query collection, items. We don't want a list of documents, we want a single document. We can disable that. We want to filter for the user reference equal to from variable authenticated user user reference, so only items created by the authenticated user are being displayed. And we also want to order them in a certain way. That's important. Create date, order decreasing, confirm, and that's the next step done for us. So now let's select the logout button and give it the appropriate action, log out, and then select the create item button, which is going to be a bit more involved. What we want to do here is another nice action chain. So we start with a conditional, single condition, and this is going to be widget state item input. This is the input field where you enter the name of the item you want to create, not equal to specific value, and you just leave that empty. It should look like this. So that means the user actually has to put in some value into the field, and if he does not, nothing will be created because we're going to add terminate here. But if the user in fact enters a name for the item, we can proceed and create a document. Create document in the items collection, obviously. Add all the fields, and the name is going to be from a variable. Oops, that is wrong. It's going to be from the widget state item input. The UID is going to be a variable, and it's going to be random data, random string, activate digits, uppercase and lowercase characters, and set the min length and max length to 12. So it's going to generate a 12 character random UID that should be unique. The user ref, you know it's going to be authenticated user, and the create date as before will be global properties current time. We're gonna add another action here. This is gonna be update document, and we're gonna update the authenticated user, add field. So there's two things we need to do. Items total. It's gonna update increment by 1 because we want the list to be current. We're adding a document, so we need to update the count. and another field is gonna be items list, add to set from variable, and this is gonna be items document UID. And one last thing, almost forgot, we're gonna set first item created to true. We're done with that, but we're gonna add an action here, and this is gonna be navigate to processing create, and we make it an instant transition. Let's move over to processing create, where it is gonna take us. We don't need any of these things here. This screen will be invisible, or with a little processing icon animation if you want to. This is really just necessary to get all the actions in the background done properly. So on the screen level, we want to create another backend query collection. Items single document is fine. We're gonna filter again user ref equal to authenticated user reference. We're gonna order by create date decreasing, add another action chain. So we're gonna create another conditional action, single condition, authenticated user. First item created is specific value true. On the false path, we're gonna add terminate. On the true path, we're gonna add another conditional. Again, it's gonna be a single condition. Authenticated user. Where is it? Default item deleted equal to specific value false. And on the true path, gonna add an action, and it's gonna be update document authenticated user reference, add field items list. So remove from set, specific value, placeholder, and again we're gonna set default item deleted to true. Next up, another action, and this is gonna be wait delay. Make it 10 milliseconds, really doesn't matter. Thing is, we want to start the timer and the next action, and for some reason if you don't put the delay in front of the timer, it does not work. Oh, because the timer is not on the page yet. Alright, putting the timer on the page. Apologies for that. So let's put a timer here. Go back into the action flow and start timer should be the action, then we're done here. As I was saying, if you don't have some kind of delay before start timer on page load, in this version of FlutterFlow for some reason it does not work. Alright, the timer we will put to 10 milliseconds as well, because we don't want to waste the user's time. And in a real product you would make the timer invisible, obviously, but for our purposes we can just leave it like that. So you're reminded that there's actually a timer here. We select the timer, go to actions, another action flow editor, and another conditional single condition. If authenticated user items total is greater than, second value is going to be a specific value, and it's going to be 1, then we're going to add an action here, and it's going to be update document. So we're going to update authenticated user reference, add field items list, add to set from variable, items document UID. We're gonna add another field, and this is gonna be random item UID from variable items document UID, and then we're gonna add another action, and that's gonna be navigate to create items and make it instant. So this is the false path. If, however, this is true, we can go there because we're gonna navigate away from here already. Add another action, make it another update. So again, authenticated user reference, items list, add to set from variable items document UID, and now comes the more interesting part. This time random item UID. There's more than one. Gonna go from variable custom functions, and we're gonna create a function for ourselves. We are gonna name this function randomUID. The return type is gonna be a string. It's not gonna be a list, and it's not gonna be nullable. Gonna add an argument, and the argument we are gonna call usersItemUIDList string list and nullable. And now we're gonna paste in this function right here, which you can either type from hand, and I'll post it in the description of the video and my post as well, I guess. And now we're gonna save it. Then we're gonna click value source is gonna be from variable authenticated users items list. So what it's gonna do is look at all the items in the list, because whenever we create one, we save the UID of the item into the list in the user collection, and then it's gonna just pick one randomly, and then it's gonna filter by that, and that's gonna be displayed, and yeah, that's how it works. And lastly, we want to navigate back to create items, and we want to do it instantly. Okay, so let's set up processing delete real quick. Again, we don't need any elements there. So put the timer in there. Set it to 10 milliseconds. Move it to the middle. Here we are on the screen level, or rather we want to have two actions. First is gonna be wait 10 milliseconds, and the next action is gonna be the timer action. So it starts when we load the page. Alright, on the timer itself, we're gonna start with another conditional. Single condition, first value, authenticated user, items list, number of items, confirm, equal to specific value 0. And if this is false, we're gonna add another update action from the authenticated user, and we want to update the random item UID from variable custom functions randomUID from variable authenticated user items list, confirm. If it is true, however, there are no more items on the list, we need a whole different set of actions. Update document, authenticated user reference. Default item deleted, we need to set to false again. Same goes for first item created, because for all intents and purposes we no longer have a created item. So this is gonna be false again as well, otherwise the whole thing will break down. And random item UID, we also want to set to specific value and leave the field empty so that it is again reset. And then here in the middle another action, navigate to the item randomizer. Alright, only one more screen to go, and that's the randomizer. And what do we need here? First off, within that column we need a row, and within the row we need text field and an icon button. Move the whole row down a bit, align the elements whatever way you see fit. We need to go to the screen level, because what we're gonna do now is we want to display something in case there's no more items left. So we need to right click on the main column, select wrap widget, stack, then add another column to the stack, and in this new column we want to put in one of the pre-made templates, and we're gonna look for empty list. I'm gonna drag that in there, and now we have two different columns on top of each other, and we gotta give them conditional visibility. We're gonna activate this here. Condition is gonna be a single condition, authenticated user, items total, confirm, greater than specific value 0. And with the second column, I'm gonna do the opposite. Condition, single condition, authenticated user, items total, confirm, equal to specific value 0. So we can switch that out for another icon. Let's have the looking class here. Seems like you don't have any items, ... and that button is gonna say create items, and let's give it an action that's gonna navigate to the create items screen. We need a backend query here. Query collection, items, single document, filter. So we're gonna have two filters. First one is userRef equal to from variable authenticated user reference, and the second filter is gonna be UID equal to from variable authenticated user randomItemUID, and that's that. That is how we're gonna get the randomness into it. Alright, now we can move on to the text field. I'm gonna set it up from variable items document name. Obviously the icon button, this is gonna be what we are gonna use to delete elements, so a trash can seems appropriate. We're gonna need another action chain. The first action is gonna be an update the users collection, user reference, and there's two fields we want to update. The first one is items list, remove from set, from variable items document UID, and the second one is items total, update increment delete, and we want to decrement by 1. We're gonna add another action, and this is gonna be delete document, items document, reference. This is gonna delete the document, and as a last action we're gonna navigate to processing delete, and we're gonna do it instantly. As our last and final action, we need another button right here. This is gonna be the randomize button, and need two actions: Firestore, update document, authenticated user reference, and the only thing we need to do now is update the random item UID from variable. Gonna set it to our custom function randomUID. select from variable authenticated users items list, confirm, and then we wanna navigate right back to the randomizer page, make it an instant transition. And that's it. I think we are done. So let's see what bugs, custom functions need to be checked. And I think we need to deploy the indexes if I read that correctly. Let's go here. Deploy Firestore indexes. While we're at it, deploy the Firestore rules. Alright, so here we are. Let's just, we can enter whatever here. And let's have a quick look. We update Firebase console. You'll see items and users collections appeared and the placeholder item was created. And we have items total 0. This is false, this is false. All right. Let's just say head create item, and something has changed. You will see there's 2 items now, one of them being head. The UID is NADP blah blah blah. And you will see this is number 1 on the items list. In between the placeholder was here, but it was deleted and replaced with this one. That's exactly what we want. So have a few more things created. We forgot one fairly important thing I just see, but let's check it out. So there's the item list, and one of them is the current random item. But what I forgot to do is give us the option to actually navigate between the pages. So we just need to go here, show on navbar, show on navbar, and show on navbar. Refresh this, and now we can go to the randomizer, and you see bike, and I hit randomize cat, house, bike, mouse, house. You see, that's working. Let's remove house. Strange, don't know what that was. Let's see if it actually worked. Yup. Count checks out. Never seen this before. Okay, that's slightly disconcerting. Why do I get an error and then it still works? Alright, quick update. I figured out what caused the ugly red error screen. So we need to go to the randomizer screen, and in the backend query in the main column, hide widget if no match actually has to be turned on, which can cause some problems on other screens, but in this case we need it. So let's quickly go over here, enter head and cat. And as you can see, now it will erase everything as it did before, but without the ugly error screen. So items, we now only have the placeholder left. This is back to 0. RandomUID has been cleared. This has been set to false, and this has been set to false. So this is just how we want it. See you guys, and if you have any comments or find a way to make it more elegant, please be sure to post it in the comments. Bye bye.